Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Kalakantha Prabhu, can you hear me? You have to unmute.
Shrestha Mataji, I think you logged in into two different laptops. I think there's an echo coming. So
I think now it will not.
Now it won't come, I think.
okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Prabhu, can you also
After,
Kalakantha Prabhu?
yeah. After your introduction, then Hari Prabhu will do the kirtan, right?
No, Kalakantha Prabhu is ready to do kirtan.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Thank you everyone for joining today's session. We are very fortunate to have His Grace Kalakantha Prabhu with us. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He's the chairman of the Krishna House Board near the University of Florida in Gainesville. He's the author of several books, including Bhagavad Gita, The Rap of God, and the Song Divine, which is a poetic rendition of spiritual wisdom. If you haven't read those books, I would recommend you to read those. They're very nice, very inspiring. Under his direction, delicious Krishna lunch prasadam is served to thousands of students at University of Florida, and it has been going on for 49 years. Next year is the 50th year. He's an initiating spiritual master in ISKCON. He practices, teaches, and people to practice Bhakti Yoga. He's also my mentor, my loving Siksha Guru. I did my PhD from University of Florida. And during those 5 years, I was very fortunate to experience the blissful spiritual life at Krishna House and the great devotee association there. From morning programs and creative youth programs, everything about Krishna House has inspired me in my path of Krishna consciousness. With further delay, I would want Krishna Kalakantha Prabhu to do kirtan, and he will be giving a talk on overcoming stress due to material nature. Thank you.
To be unmuted by you. Is that all right now? You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Prabhu.
All righty. Well, nice to be with you all. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parirajakacharya Ashtataya Sadashi Shrimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namaskara Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Prihat Madanga Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhanata Bara Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev Ki Jai. Shri Nrsingadev Chaturdasi Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
All good.
Vidaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale.
Jai.
Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Varamani Pacharani Nivashesha Sandhivani Pastityane Shatarani. Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everybody. So nice to be with you today. And I hope you are well and happy. Today we're going to talk about dealing with times of stress in Krishna consciousness. And I picked a verse from the 10th canto, chapter 14, text 8, a verse which Srila Prabhupada said could be the motto of all devotees. I'm not sure if everybody has the book available or access to it, but if you do, we'll just chant it a couple of times. Tate nukampam susamikshamano Bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam Fridvag vapurbir viditan namaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadayavak Tate nukampam susamikshamano Punjana evadma kritam vipakam Fridvag vapurbhir viditam namaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadayavak. The word meanings. Tat, therefore, te, your, anukampam, compassion, susamikshamana, earnestly hoping for, punjana, enduring, eva, certainly, atmakritam, done by himself, vipakam, the fruitive results, writ, with his heart, bhak, words, vapurbi, and body, vididhan, offering, nama, obeisances, te, unto you, jiveta, lives, ya, anyone who, mukti pade, to the position of liberation, sa, he, daya, bhak, the rightful heir. Translation. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. The purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. The word susamikshamana indicates that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respectful obeisances to the Lord within his heart, with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship to be a small price to pay for gaining the personal association of the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated here by the words Daya Bhak. Just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the Supreme Pure, Lord Krishna, without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Certainly this is a time of great stress, and therefore meditating on this verse is a very helpful way to deal with these difficulties that we're all undergoing. But before we talk about the philosophical part of it, I'd like to read a little, if I may, from the poetic rendition of this pastime. This comes, of course, as Lord Brahma has been embarrassed, he has been exposed, he's been humiliated, and now he is responding to Lord Krishna by expressing how his suffering is actually curative and for his own good. So this is from the 10th canto, chapter 13. And Krishna and the cowherd boys have just killed Aghasura. So Krishna has then invited them all to come and sit by the banks of the Jamuna and have lunch. They're having lots of fun, stealing each other's lunches, sharing, laughing. And as he's doing this, Brahma is watching. In fact, they've seen him kill Aghasura, and now they're watching him play like an ordinary cowherd boy. And Brahma is quite bewildered by this. From high above, Prema had seen Aghasura's demise, as well as this ensuing lunch. This left him quite surprised. Deciding to put Krishna to a test, Prema came down and hid away the boys and calves while he was not around. When Krishna soon returned to where the lunch had taken place, he found no boys or calves at all, just empty, open space. Although he showed astonishment while looking here and there, he knew at once Brahma had hidden all his friends somewhere. Within a moment, Krishna chose to answer this new ploy by mystically expanding to replace each missing boy. The all-pervading Lord became each boy in full detail, from lunch bag, bugle, flute, and foot to face and fingernail. The new boys had the old boys' ages, habits, traits, and names. Replacement clothes and ornaments fit each boy just the same. Once he'd become the boys, the Lord became the calves as well, so perfectly that even their own mothers couldn't tell. The party danced their way back home with Krishna at the head. Each boy returned to his own house, each calf to its own shed. Each mother filled their secret urge for Krishna as a son by nursing their respective boys, not knowing what he'd done. As Krishna all at once portrayed each missing cowherd boy, their mothers did their duties with extraordinary joy. They bathed, massaged, and dressed their sons before the evening meal, surprised to find these routine tasks infused with such appeal. Although the cowherd parents always loved their sons before, they secretly had loved young Krishna just a little more. Distinctions between Krishna and their sons now disappeared, and they adored their sons more every day throughout the year. The cows, meanwhile, mooed loudly when their calves came into their sheds and licked them with maternal love from tail and hoof to head. Their udders overflowed with milk and didn't seem to shrink as their respective offspring drank up all that they could drink. A year went by, and even Balaram did not catch on. He joined Krishna and the boys each day in work and song. One day on Govardhan, however, he became amazed to see the older cows charge down that hill on which they grazed. Although these cows had younger calves, their hearts were deeply stirred with powerful maternal love on seeing Krishna's herd. They galloped down a rocky trail, their heads and tails erect, their forelegs worked like two legs, and their humps slid to their necks. The cowherd men, amazed as well, could not hold back the charge, and soon the cows reached Krishna's calves, their udders full and large. They nursed and licked these long-weaned calves as if to eat them whole. The cowherd men, ashamed and angry, struggled for control. They scurried down the rocky slope, but when they reached their sons, the boys who played with Krishna, their affection left them stunned. Their own parental feelings swelled. Their shame and anger fled, as lovingly they held their sons and smelled their tender heads. When Balaram saw all of this, he wanted to explore why everyone's affection had grown stronger than before. Some new event is causing all these feelings to arise. Perhaps some boys and calves are really gods in some disguise. Could this be Krishna's handiwork? Why, who else could it be? Yes, only those illusions made by Krishna work on me. So Balaram asked Krishna, who explained the whole affair, and both of them remembered on that day he'd not been there. Lord Balaram was absent when Lord Krishna made his clones, for it had been his birthday, and his mother kept him home. And when his birthday came again, his mother made him stay. So Krishna once again went out without him for the day. A year to us is to Brahma a minute's time elapsed, the time it took to put the boys and calves in mystic naps. Returning to Vrindavan on his swan, he was surprised to see the stolen calves and boys right there before his eyes. Brahma explained, "These boys and calves are safe in hibernation, yet Krishna is surrounded by some perfect imitations. Where have they come from? Who are they? I cannot understand how Krishna's friends stayed here all year despite of all my plans." Brahma had tried in mystic pride to baffle Krishna's mind. Instead, he found himself confused, his own plans undermined. The power of Brahma next to Lord Krishna fades away as brilliant snow grows dull at night, or glowworms pale by day. To show Brahma the secret truth of what had just occurred, Lord Krishna let the boys and calves again be who they were. At once Brahma saw Krishna at the center of a drove of monsoon bluish Vishnus, clad in yellow silken robes. Each Vishnu had 4 jeweled arms with bracelets on each wrist, and 4 hands holding lotus flower, conch shell, club, and disc. Kaustuba gems hung from their necks. Their ornamented feet and Srivat's marks upon their chests made each Vishnu complete. A forest flower garland reached the sashes round each waist, and garlands strung from tulasi were very nicely placed on each and every portion of their transcendental forms by devotees who love to be where kirtan is performed. Such devotees surrounded every Vishnu in the throng and pleased their lords respectively with service, dance, and song. Each Vishnu smiled as brightly as the moon in ecstasy, exchanging loving glances with his faithful devotees. Brahma could see each Vishnu had divine authority to rule the vast creation and its multi-energies. Their endless, blissful, brilliant forms beyond the greatest mind, Brahma saw both as God and boy, and both at the same time. This vision stunned Brahma with transcendental ecstasies. He felt himself a doll before these sacred deities. Brahma, the Lord of Saraswati, Queen of Education, could not begin to slightly understand the situation. Brahma had tried to realize Lord Krishna on his own, but only through submission is Lord Krishna ever known. Brahma was wholly mystified. His purpose now fulfilled, Lord Krishna showed Brahma the truth by his transcendent will. Brahma regained his senses like one rising from the dead and stared through independent eyes in each of his four heads. He saw Vrindavan's forests and their pleasant atmosphere replete with life-sustaining trees that please throughout the year. Vrindavan, that enchanting place where Krishna is always first, is free of all such agonies as hunger, hate, and thirst. The tigers, chimps, and other beasts who threaten common men live side by side with humans there as transcendental friends. Brahma then saw the absolute, all-knowing, and most grand, a single roaming cowherd boy with rice ball in his hand. We think in man is ordinary till he makes a move, but Krishna, as a simple boy, had nothing else to prove. As Krishna wandered here and there, Brahma jumped off his swan and fell down like a golden rod, his foolish pride now gone. Though gods avoid the touch of earth, Brahma laid on the ground to bathe Lord Krishna's feet with tears and touch them with his crowns. Remembering what he had seen, his ecstasy complete, Brahma stood up and fell again at Krishna's lotus feet. Again he stood and wiped his eyes, his heads in humble pose, and said in heartfelt manner, mantras he instinctively composed. So this is where the prayer comes from. Brahma immediately recites these prayers after being humiliated and exposed by Lord Krishna. So when we encounter difficulties, one of the effects of that is humiliation. Our pride is suddenly crushed. Our expectations, our intentions for our lives, all of that is suddenly exposed and taken away. And then we are left with one decision. Are we going to say, this is God's fault? Why is Krishna doing this to me? Or are we going to say, what is Krishna trying to teach me by this lesson? So that choice is our first way to deal with setbacks and stress. It is not very difficult for Krishna to take care of a jiva. After all, eko bahunam yovidadhati kamanam, he's taking care of everybody. So if we're worried about our survival or we're worried about our lives, I mean, that's a natural reaction. But looking at it more deeply, we can see Krishna has done this for some reason. It is not happening independently of Krishna, nor has Krishna happened to accidentally overlook me in the course of his activities and his unfolding of his plans. He knows exactly what we are doing. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto mataks matir jnanam apohanam cha. He's sitting in our hearts. He knows us more intimately than we know ourselves. And he knows exactly what situation we are in and how we are responding to it. So our freedom in this world does not extend to control the external situations of our lives. It is our domain to experience the changes and the miseries of this world, but it's not our domain to control them. They are happening because we have chosen at some point in our sojourn of existence to think we would be happier without Krishna. So having made that decision, we now are getting the consequences. And what this verse from Lord Brahma's prayers is teaching us is 3 things we can do to deal with those consequences properly. So the first thing is to accept responsibility for them. These things are happening to us not because of accidents in the creation or neglect by the Creator, but because in our past we have made certain decisions that have brought us to this current situation in our lives. We are responsible. We cannot delegate that responsibility to anybody else. Being able to accept our decisions and their consequences and take personal responsibility is the first of these 3 steps in responding to stress and difficulty. It is not coming from anyone else but me. I have no one to blame but myself. Sometimes when devotees have disagreements, which can be very upsetting and painful, we need to remember this first lesson, because it takes 2 people to fight. Somebody may be fighting us, and somebody may be mad at us. We should see them, Srila Prabhupada said, as agents of our own karma. So this is the first step. And if there's a fight or a disagreement, the key thing is not to respond in kind. This is the defending propensity. The defending propensity manifests when somebody criticizes us, we want to criticize them back. So if somebody criticizes us or does something to hurt us, the appropriate response is to say, I'm just getting my own past karma back. It is not anyone else's fault but mine. My karma is coming to me through this person. And it is Krishna karma, in that Krishna is personally administering this token sinful reaction to help me learn a valuable lesson. Now, if one person doesn't fight back, is there a fight? It's not really a fight at that point. So if 2 devotees are having a disagreement, first question is to ask which one is going to be the Mahabhagavat, the tolerant devotee who accepts personal responsibility for the difficulty. So after this personal responsibility is accepted, step 2 is to say, okay, Krishna, in spite of this difficulty, my service is going to continue without interruption. Ahoitaki apratiyata. Devotional service that has no motivation, jnana karma dhyānavritam, that is not being done for any sort of external benefit, but simply for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. Continuing that selfless kind of service immediately brings us relief from the distress of this material world. Does it solve all the material problems? No, not necessarily, certainly not right away. But what it does is help us rise above the stress and the problems that have come upon us. It helps us understand that this world is not our home, and our true activity is bhakti. Bhakti can be performed under any circumstances, and that devotion and that devotional activity continues beyond this life and into the spiritual world. So persisting in our service is step number 2, in spite of difficulties. And those services can be very simple. Patram, pushpam, palam, toyam, just offering our food to Krishna, chanting our rounds. If we're quarantined or confined to a home, trying to maintain a nice devotional schedule, going to bed early, rising early, taking advantage of the Brahma Muhurta hours to chant and read about Krishna. These are services that please Krishna. When we chant Krishna's name, Krishna takes pleasure in that. we're chanting to bring him pleasure. When we hear about Krishna, that also brings him pleasure. And when we discuss Krishna with others, that makes us very dear to him. So these are things that can be done under any circumstances. And thus, continuing with our Shravanam, Kirtanam, even in difficulty, this is the second step for dealing with setbacks. The third and final step is accepting, or rather expecting, Krishna's mercy. If we expect Krishna's mercy, this is called Shraddha, or faith in something sublime. We are confident that Krishna has not abandoned us. Krishna has not neglected us. Krishna is very kindly giving us a little bit of education. Some scientist was saying that he did not like the analogy of calling it a war against the coronavirus. He said, rather, the virus is educating my body with a new set of antibodies and a new way to enhance my immune system. So I thought that was interesting, because this is how a devotee sees material setbacks. This is just Krishna preparing me and making me more eligible for entering the spiritual world. That becomes, in fact, not only an opportunity, but our right. If we maintain these three attitudes, then we become the heirs, the legitimate heirs of a life in the spiritual world that nobody can take from us. That actually brings us peace of mind. You know, in this world, we're very captivated by the material energy. We have our duties, and we have to do them in this world. And yet, at the same time, we know it's not the reality of our existence. It is a path, a means of dealing with our current situation, less desirable situation that we have created for ourselves. But in the course of dealing with our responsibilities, we can become very wrapped up and even convinced about the reality of the world that we inhabit. Like a fish is swimming in water. The fish cannot conceive something other than water because it surrounds him all the time. So in the same way, when we're engaged in so many responsible tasks in this world, we are hard-pressed to see beyond the illusory nature of it all. And this is the importance of that second step, that is regularly hearing about Krishna, regularly chanting and reminding ourselves about the long-term picture, the reality of our existence. You know, Brahma became humiliated and humbled because he decided to test Krishna. He was in a position to do that. So we might say, well, if Krishna, if you really exist, then fix my problems, help out my situation. If you really exist, let me see you come through right now. So this may not be good for us. Sudama Brahman thought, you know, he went to beg from Krishna at his wife's request, but then when he came back, he realized he'd forgotten. So he reflected. This was probably because Krishna knew that if I got some material opulence, I would become too attached to this world. So he's very kindly withheld it from me. And this way, a devotee deals with material setbacks, thinking Krishna has his own reasons. This world is not where I really belong. I may have 10, 20, 30, 40 years to live, or I may have 10 or 20 days, or not even that. Who knows? But one way or the other, in the long term, my spiritual life is what will bring me real satisfaction and happiness. So these are the three lessons from Lord Brahma in this verse. And I know so many people are going through stressful times right now, challenges that really shake the core of our conception of our lives. Human beings are very resilient in general, but devotees have this additional layer of realization and transcendence, which not only helps one cope with stress, but understand it in its proper perspective. It's not happening randomly by the interactions of material nature. It's not happening by some malefic planet in our astrological chart. It's happening specifically for devotees, because devotees are very dear to Krishna. So Krishna personally manages the lives of the devotees. These things are happening directly at Krishna's hand for reasons which we may not understand now, but we will understand in the long run. So Krishna has been so kind to us. He has brought us so many realizations, so much happiness to our lives. If we're in stress, this is the time to remember how Krishna has been so kind to us, and to trust that he has our best wishes, our best interests in mind. May not give us what we want, but he'll give us what we need to be successful in our spiritual life. This is not a cause for stress. This is a cause for celebration. It's a cause for chanting Haribol. It's a cause for remembering how kind Krishna is. He is not vindictive in any way, nor is he angry at us for leaving. He's just trying to help us. And this is the beauty of being in Krishna consciousness. You know, as we age and as our bodies start to deteriorate and fall apart, all of those things become an incentive for remembering Krishna in this way. That yes, Krishna is my kind well-wisher, and he is helping extract me from a situation which is unsustainable and not very happy. You know, people are suffering because they want truth, they want security, and they want happiness. And all of these things are missing in this world. We want to understand reality, but we're immersed in illusion. This is sat. We want to have knowledge, and we want to have reality and truth, but we're getting lies. You know, chit is missing. And we want happiness, but we're missing that as well. Ananda is gone. So there's no asat, achit, and nirananda in this world. The spiritual world that is awaiting the devotee is just the opposite. And when we get there, all of this will be just like a bad dream. Just something you wake up and forget all about it, because it has no impact on our real existence. So I'll stop there. If there are any questions now or other discussion, any comments, please feel free. We can continue on that basis. Here's a comment from Ruchira. Generally, I look at suffering in three ways. Oh, sorry, I lost it there. Can you read that for us, Ruchira? Yes, we'll need to unmute the mics now. Who's running the call?
Hare Krishna.
Jai, how do you do? Ruchira, nice to see you. Would you kindly your comment, please?
So I had asked one question earlier, which was who wrote that report? 1014.8, who wrote the report? Was it or
मेरा आवाज कट रहा है, I can't hear. आप अंदर है ना?
Yes, if everyone could please mute yourself if you're not asking a question. That will.
तुझे आप बीच में साइकिल नहीं रख सकते हो. You know, right? Anybody can hit your cycle. Do you know cars come here? Do you want to leave the I'm going to close the tab and come back.
Yeah. Haribol. Okay, shall we try again? Ruchira, are you there?
Haribol Prabhu.
You there.
Sounds like
Everyone else, if you can mute, except for Ruchira.
This is Rukmini.
Krishnaji, it sounds like this is going to be difficult to get everybody to mute. Maybe some people have stepped away. What do you think? Is it possible to just get the written question?
Chandra Prabhu, is it possible to mute everyone except Kalakantha Prabhu and the person who is raising the hand? Is it possible to unmute only those two persons?
So that's what I did, but again, like, everybody, I can
It's
only
not happening?
mute everyone or unmute everyone. So
Ah.
it will take some time. So. But anyway, I think Shrestha Mataji, can you go ahead and read the question out, and I will mute everybody and they can post the question. Yeah, please.
Oh, Ruchira. Okay. So Ruchira's first question: Who wrote the purport? Well, there were three devotees. Okay, sorry. Okay, so the first question she's asking: Who wrote the purport that we read? That very nice purport. The purports to the 10th canto after the 13th chapter were written by Hridayananda Maharaj, Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, and Dravida Prabhu. And actually, I believe the 10th canto especially was written largely by Dravida Prabhu and Gopi Puranadana Prabhu. Hridayananda Maharaj began with the 11th canto after Prabhupada's disappearance, and then they came back as a team and worked on the 10th canto. Okay, I hope that's clear. So then you were saying that you see, when you have difficulties, you see them in three ways. Could you repeat them, please?
Yes, I can do that. Why am I echoing?
You logged from two computers, I think, Shrestha.
Two computers.
Haribol?
Haribol, that's better.
Yes. Okay, so the question that Rukmini Devdasi is asking is, generally, I look at suffering in three ways: a reaction, a lesson, an arrangement towards some future part of Krishna's plan. My question is major suffering always all three of these, or is it sometimes just one? Number one, a reaction. In that case, it may be due to something in a past life, and then how do I learn from it? Should I repeat?
No, I understand. Yeah, we can't be sure when this misdeed that we're now experiencing consequences for took place, nor is it really important. And in fact, it may not even be some connection with particular sinful activity or some mistake we made in the past. Krishna may just be cutting a certain attachment for us very surgically. And it is just important to understand in a broad sense that we have chosen to come to the material world. If we have made this decision to come to the material world, what do we expect? What else could we expect? It is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi in this world. It is just a collection of sufferings, hidden with a veneer of enjoyment sometimes, briefly. So there's no need to try to trace the origins of our sinful reactions, or the origins, I should say, of our suffering. There's no need to try to sort. It's like a banyan tree that spreads over acres of land. Only a highly trained biologist could find the original trunk. And even if that were the case, what is the point of it? It doesn't change anything. So rather than look backwards, it's more important to look forward. And if being in difficulty gives us an incentive to look ahead, that's a good thing. Does that answer the first part of your question? Rukmini Mataji, are you there? Okay.
He says yes.
Other comments or questions?
Prabhu, this is Prem Sindhu Das. So I was also, somebody was saying that we don't want to get involved with karma kanda here and make our life nicer and nicer in this material world. So Krishna has made it in such a way that sometimes we get a reaction, but we don't know in which lifetime we did what, and so that we can choose to get out of this place rather than just adjust our situation to become happy in this material world.
Yes, yes. When Lord Chaitanya went to began the Sankirtan movement at Srinivasa's house, Srivasangam rather, one Brahmin was excluded. He was one of the kind of Smarta class who Chaitanya felt would not appreciate the devotional mood of the kirtan. So when he was excluded, he cursed Lord Chaitanya. "You will never enjoy material happiness." To which Lord Chaitanya responded, "Haribo, thank you very much." As Queen Kunti prayed, Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribhir, Vedamana Madak Kuman. These things, Janma, nice birth, Aishwarya, control, power, respect, Shruti, education, and Shribhir, wealth. These four things are a great burden for spiritual progress. We may have them, but if we're attached to them, if we take shelter of them, if we think they are our ultimate security, then we'll be unable to invoke the sincere, desperate cry of the devotee to Krishna that is required for understanding bhakti and for performing and practicing bhakti. So this is how to understand the big picture. Finding it within ourselves to call out to Krishna sincerely. And as we all know, painful activity or painful experiences can be a great incentive for that. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. I hope that is clear. Next question. Comment?
Prabhu, you can ask the question now.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Hare Krishna, this is Naveen Krishna. Very nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Prabhu. Haribo.
Yeah. So I was in the purport. It is very clearly mentioned by Prabhupada. He says a particular situation is created by Krishna to eradicate our enjoying spirit. So my question is that how do we know it's coming from my own karma or Krishna's creating that so that he removes that from me? How do you know?
We don't know, and it doesn't really matter. When there's a fire in the house, we could stop and say, let's find out how this fire started. But if we're rational, we'll just ask, how can I get out of this situation? So we know ultimately something has gone wrong. There's been some sort of mistake or some accident. But at this point, it is hardly a priority to detect it. This is our mode of passion pushes us to want to understand what was it I did, because that still, if you analyze it, still makes us feel like we want to be the controllers. I did something wrong, so I want to know what it is so I can do something about it. You know, this is the wrong mood. We're helpless. We are helpless in this world of birth and death. And unless we can call out to Krishna in a mood of helplessness, we will remain struggling, trying to fix things ourselves and figure them out. So in the long run, it really doesn't matter what was the cause. But the reality is very painful, and that's now. And we're thinking maybe if we understand the cause, it will help alleviate the pain, but that isn't the method. the only thing that alleviates the pain is a deep realization of our predicament. And then our expectations for enjoyment in this life are lowered. The younger a person is, the more romantic an idea we tend to have about our future. We expect that things will line up in a good way. We have expectations that if we work hard and we do our duties, that we'll get certain returns on our investment. Those are now entitled, returns we're entitled to. They are our accomplishments. We can chalk them up to our own hard work and intelligence. But these are all things that are impediments to Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means calling out to Krishna from the core of our heart. You're just simply accepting responsibility for being here in the first place, period. It's like Srila Prabhupada told the story of the man who, in the middle of the night, heard some noise upstairs. And he got out of bed and called upstairs, who is that? To which he heard, I'm not stealing anything. So the thief is already in the position for committing theft. So similarly, we're in this world, we have put ourselves in the position for trying to steal Krishna's energy without giving credit to Krishna. That's why we're here. So no longer do we need to make excuses for ourselves. It's humbling. It's very humbling to just acknowledge our failure in being here in the first place. So no excuses needed, and no cause needs to be found. There's a causeless unwillingness of the jiva to want to surrender to Krishna that has put us in this situation. Is that all right? Haribol. I think we have time for another one or two comments or questions, reflections on this subject.
Yes, Ram Tirtha Prabhu is going to ask a question.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, very happy to see you.
Likewise, nice to see you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the nice class. One question I have is, when we are going through difficulties or challenges in life, and I mean, we try to understand what is Krishna's plan in this, what is Krishna trying to teach us. But most of the times it is very difficult for me, especially, it's very difficult to understand what is Krishna trying to teach in this situation. So any help or guidance can you provide so that we can understand what is Krishna trying to teach?
Yes, it is often inscrutable. You remember when Bhishma was leaving this world, the first thing he was saying to Yudhisthira was, I cannot understand why all these sufferings have come upon such faultless personalities as the Pandavas. And he just acknowledged, this is the time factor. These are things that are inevitable, and nobody can challenge the power and the authority of time. So that in and of itself is a powerful lesson. It's uncomfortable because when things are going well materially, we feel ourselves in control. But that's such an illusion. We are never in control. When things are going nicely, we don't tend to think about, well, Krishna is doing this or that. We just think this is normal. And we pray and we chant and we do our duties. But when things are going awry, then we think, hey, Krishna, what's going on? See? So just the very fact that we have that reaction is a valuable lesson. That we are complacent, in other words, in material life. And we're thinking, yes, we're entitled to particular way of life in this world. And then it's exposed for what it is. It's all just an illusion, and we're not entitled to any of it. Krishna has given it to us, and Krishna can take it away at any moment. So these are long, sometimes very drawn out lessons. And it takes a tremendous amount of patience and a tremendous amount of faith. Just look at Srila Prabhupada, how easy it would have been for him, who was not in a comfortable material situation, who was not finding success in his endeavors, who was appreciated by very few people, and not appreciated by almost everyone. And yet he continued and he persevered, just as it says in this verse, because he expected Krishna's mercy. we have a right to do our duty, but not to the fruits of our duty. So we can execute our duty, but the results may not be what we expected. And when that happens, the devotee just understands Krishna did not want what I wanted. I had my plan, but Krishna had his plan. And now I have no choice but to cooperate with Krishna's plan. Maybe Krishna is going to put me in an entirely different situation than what I expected. Maybe Krishna is going to impose very dramatic changes across my entire life. We're helpless. That's a good way to tell that Krishna is teaching us a lesson when we're absolutely helpless to do anything about it. That's one of the symptoms. There is nothing we can do, beg, borrow, or steal, no arrangement we can make that will address the circumstances that have changed in our lives. That's a good way of understanding, okay, Krishna is doing this for some reason. But we can have faith. I don't understand right now, but in the long run, I will understand. So as Srila Prabhupada said, these various setbacks and struggles that he went through, those became like his ornaments, like his medals, that he has been through this and he's been through this. So these are the tests by which Krishna glorifies the devotee. It isn't to punish the devotee, it's to glorify the devotee, to help the devotee go to higher and higher levels in Krishna consciousness by enduring, by persevering, by remaining faithful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Haribol.
We have one more question.
Okay.
By Naeem. He's the professor of OSU. His question, is, if after this life, the devotee will see this life as a bad dream because life is a struggle for everyone, couldn't constant self-improvement turn this into a good or better dream? Overcoming these struggles can be enjoyable? That's the second part.
We have to, very good, very nice question, Naeem, thank you. We have to ask if we're overcoming them materially or spiritually. To overcome a problem materially, people are doing all the time without benefit of bhakti yoga or spiritual life. They're curing or finding vaccines. They are building buildings. They're making computers faster. All kinds of problems are being overcome all the time by people who have no connection at all with the Creator. But to overcome a problem spiritually is something different. It is not an external overcoming, rather an internal overcoming. That first, I have learned to deal with this problem, not in a complacent way, not in not by just giving up on it, but rather by accepting my own insignificant position in relation to this problem. And further, understanding that even if I solve it materially, I have not solved the inevitable problems that accompany this material body. So they're first-class passengers on the Titanic. You could say they've solved their problems. They got a comfortable berth. They were well taken care of. And then there were those steerage passengers on the Titanic. And they were crammed in rooms, uncomfortable, just suffering through the journey. So which is in a better position? Well, ultimately, they were both in the same position. So in the same way, materially resolving problems in this world is just like having a first-class cabin on the Titanic. The real solution to the problem is to make sure that our boat is going to get to the desired destination. And to do that, we have to understand which destination it is that is really worth pursuing. I hope that answers your question.
He says thank you.
Haribol. Okay.
Hare Krishna, I have a question.
Shrestha, is there time? You were...
Yes, we have time for one more last question.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful lecture. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. My question is, over the last 6 weeks, each of us has had a different response to what has been going around us. And every week brings new information that makes you adapt, helps you adapt to the situation around us. And when you were here in Columbus, you mentioned once that you know you're doing the right thing when you see Krishna smile. How do you know that the responses or the actions that you're taking, whether it be at the front lines at work or at home, is making Krishna satisfied? Because it seems like what was certain this week is no longer certain the week after because new information is coming up.
Yes.
How do you know?
Yeah. So, yes, that was Srila Prabhupada's answer to that question. How do we know when Krishna is pleased? He said, when you see Krishna smile. So how do we see Krishna smile? Well, we have to look at Krishna daily. And when Krishna is smiling at us, we have the energy and the impetus to do our duty and to do our service for the day. You know, when Krishna is smiling at us, we have the energy and time to chant our rounds. We have the conviction to hear from Srila Prabhupada and associate with the Vaishnavas. We inject ourselves with this spiritual vaccination. Now, then we know Krishna is smiling. We know that is pleasing Krishna. There is no material reward for it. There's no material apparent benefit for it. But within ourselves, we know. We just have the ability to do our duty. This is the whole Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? When Arjuna understood that fighting the war would please Krishna, then although he did not want to do it materially, he found the conviction. So that's how we know Krishna is smiling. When our effort, in whatever capacity it may be, is to please Krishna, Krishna is smiling. So new information is coming. Yes, the material world, the material nature, Lord Krishna says, it's endlessly mutable. So there will always be new information and always be new challenges. And there will never be a perfect situation where all these problems are resolved. So if our duty is in dealing with these things in this world, then we just do our best. We offer our service to Krishna, and we know at the end of the day, we have done our best for Krishna according to the situations we've been given. We have remembered Krishna, Ma Manusmara Yudhya Cha, while fighting. We thought of Krishna, we remembered him. So there's no external condition that will ever bring us to understand Krishna's smile. Krishna's smile is felt within, and it manifests in that conviction to proceed in our bhakti. That's why we need each other's association, because we're all swimming upstream in this world where everything is dealt with in the external sense. But yet we all share this very common experience of Krishna consciousness, how by serving Krishna we become so fulfilled and satisfied, even doing externally the same things we were doing before. So yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat jahosi, dadasi, yat. If we're offering everything we do to Krishna, Krishna is smiling. We also understand Krishna is smiling if the devotees are pleased. This is an irreplaceable component of understanding Krishna's desire. If we have instructions from the devotees, if we know things that we can do to please the devotees, Krishna is always pleased by that. So I hope that will help you. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, good to see you.
Likewise.
Okay, straight to Prabhu. I'd just like to conclude by thank you very much for this invitation. It's just wonderful to see all of these wonderful devotees here in Columbus. I hope Krishna will protect you and preserve your situation favorably for doing service, however that may be. And if I may be of any service during these stressful times, if you'd like to speak, please let me know. Send me an email. I'd be happy to correspond, or we could make a phone date. Happy to see you and talk anytime.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. And also, if there was no coronavirus, you were supposed to be here in Columbus, staying with us. So we miss your association.
I've done this
And,
too, believe me. Yes.
and
Thank you.
hopefully this will be gone by December so that you can come again.
Thank you. I look forward to that. So the microbiologists have to get to work, huh?
Yes.
All of you, thank you very much for your time. It's a real pleasure to see you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Kalakantha Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Haribo.
Prabhu, would you be staying back for the nursing prayers, or do you have to go?
I do have to go, if you'll please excuse me.
Okay.
All right. Jai Shingadev. Haribo.
Haribo. Hari Prabhu, if you can do the nursing prayers.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste
Jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for joining the Sunday Feast, and thanks Hari for the nourishing prayers. So quick announcements. So on Wednesday, 5/6, May 6th, we have Nourishing Jayanti festival coming up. So we have, there is an evening program that we have scheduled, and hope you all have received the email from the community email as well. So we are very fortunate to have His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, who will be with us on the Zoom to give us some enlightenment on Nourishing Dasi. So the class is going to start, the Zoom call will start at 6:30. So 6:30 to 7, we will have Nourishing Kavacham prayers, and 7 to 8:30 would be class with Q&A. And then 8:30 we'll have Nourishing prayers, and we will end the Nourishing Dasi festival. And one other announcement on Wednesday is we are planning to distribute prasad. I understand, like, a lot of devotees, it's been more than a month that we had, prasad, rather than it was prasad. So what we are planning to do, I think all the instructions are in the email that has been sent to the community. Please either reach out to Ramesh Prabhu or myself to make an order for the prasad. And prasadam will be available from 4:15 p.m. to 6:15 p.m. on Wednesday. So you can come anytime between that time and pick up your boxes to go. And we have also facilitated to take darshan from the porch. And please make sure you follow the social distancing guidelines and try to be more accommodative for the other devotees. So that's on the Nourishing Dasi on 5/6. And then one request to all devotees is please make your orders of boxes by end of today, so that we know exactly how many how much prasadam to cook. So and then we are also fortunate to have on 5/10, which is next Sunday, we will have Her Grace Urmila Mataji, who will be giving Sunday Feast class. So please mark your calendars and try to attend that as well. And then we also have I think there are special guest speakers who are coming the following weeks as well. So there will be more announcements coming on our way. So for now, these are the two main things on Nourishing Dasi, and also on next Sunday, we'll have Her Grace Urmila Mataji giving us the Sunday Feast class. And then there is one more announcement Hari Prabhu just posted. So on Saturday, which is 5/9, we will be having Shravanam. As part of the Shravanam Saturdays, we'll have Hari Prasad Prabhu from India, from Mumbai, I believe. So Prabhu will be giving us class. So please join that class as well. Hari Prasad Prabhu has been to Columbus, and he has enlightened us a lot, and we have high regards for him as well. So announcement on the Shravanam Saturday will be coming out as well. So there will be a Zoom link that will be available. So please mark the calendar for Saturday morning. So with that, those are the announcement. Any other announcements would like to? Okay, I think that's it. So thanks everybody for joining the class. And then one request from myself and the host is to make sure we follow some etiquettes during the Zoom call. So like muting and unmuting yourself. I mean, the host can mute everybody, and he can also unmute everyone. But at the same time, like if we have to unmute each individual, it will take some time. So we'll figure out a nice way, because I'm sure we will follow the same pattern for next few weeks. So I wanted to make sure we have good experience for devotees, and also having an opportunity for devotees to ask questions as well. So we'll come up with some guidelines, and we'll also post them right before our class to the community. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best would be to join YouTube. That way there is no disturbance, or unless people specifically have some questions they want to personally ask. YouTube is the best way to join the lecture and listen to it. That way, you know, they don't have to worry about muting or anything like that. So we request and, you know, devotees to join as many people as possible to join Zoom, sorry, YouTube than Zoom. So that's just a suggestion.
Prabhu, then how will they ask questions?
That's what I'm saying. If people have questions, that's a different story. I mean, they can type on the comments also. Otherwise, sometimes it becomes unmanageable. If a lot of people are there, and then if they don't mute themselves. So
Yeah.
it's just a suggestion. No, it's not compulsory that they have to join YouTube, but
yeah, that's true. I mean, but we have to keep track of questions on YouTube and also on Zoom. So it's going to be a little bit managing, technique. So, okay. Sounds good, Prabhu. Yeah, we'll come up with a plan. So like Prabhu, Shrestha Mataji, myself, will come up with a plan. And hopefully, we want to make sure, we give good experience for devotees for joining the call as well. So, and everybody's else cooperation is also required in this regard.
Thank you,
anything
Prabhu.
else, Mataji?
That's it. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.